Welcome to another episode of my podcast. Today's guest is absolutely amazing, and I know that I say this about all of my guests because all of my guests truly are some phenomenal people. I'm super blessed to know, associate with, and otherwise be connected to some of the dopest people on the planet. I'll just put that out there. Today's guest is someone that I met very randomly, quote unquote, but you know, nothing is random. Everything is always in perfect order and always synchronized. And the two of us met at a very unique space that we both happened to be in at the same time. And one day we just connected. We just started talking, we started conversing, and we started really starting to open up to each other. And sometimes that's not easy for two Black women in a professional space to let their guard down, allow themselves to be seen, to see, affirm, and validate each other. And that is exactly what we did. And since then, we've remained connected. She is a truth teller. She is a hilarious speaker, entertainment professional is what I'm calling her, just putting that out there. She is a lifestyle influencer. She is an educator in her own right. She is a mother. She is a powerful, empowering Black woman. And I feel super privileged to know her, to have had the chance to share space with her, to be featured on her YouTube channel, and now for me to be able to have her as a featured guest on my podcast is really a privilege and a blessing. So I bring to you just a little bit, just a snippet of a beautiful conversation with Talisa Rae. Get comfortable, take a couple of long, deep, cleansing breaths, and get ready to listen to another conversation. Well, hello there. So we are going to dive right in, and I'm going to give you the floor, give you the mic, so to speak, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself to the listeners, sharing your name, your astrological sign, if you're feeling that, and one of your passions.
Okay. So I am Talisa Rae, and my astrological sign is Virgo, honey. All day, every day, I live Virgo. That is who I am. So I'm proud to share that. And one of my passions is actually doing my YouTube channel. I have a lifestyle channel on YouTube that is just simply my name, Talisa Rae, where we talk about everyday situations. I have like sort of a series that's on Saturdays called Girlfriend Chronicles, where it's a free form. We have certain topics, but some topics that are considered quote unquote taboo, just so we delve in and have a comfortable place to talk about things that you may or may not necessarily talk about all the time, even with your friends, definitely not with your family. But here's a safe space where you can be yourself and let out all inhibitions or say what you don't like. So I try to make as Keisean would say, a safe place for people to come and be themselves, as I do the same.
Awesome. I love that. Virgo, when is your birthday?
August 28th.
Oh, wow. My sister's is the 27th, August 27th.
Which sister?
Keola. She's a Virgo.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's why I was like, wait a minute. You met Keola. So yeah, August 27th. And it's funny because my family, there's, the immediate family, there's 7 of us, mom, dad, and then I have 4 siblings, and I'm the oldest. And then my brother is the baby. Out of everybody, I'm the only water sign. I'm a Cancer.
Okay.
And my dad is a Libra. My mom is a Virgo. Keola's a Virgo. Karma's a Libra. My sister Daria is a Aquarius, and then my brother's a Virgo. So I have Virgos run
around
deep
you. Yes,
in my
absolutely.
family.
and being a Cancer, you're kind of passionate. No wonder you're so motivating. Most Cancers I know are very passionate about a lot of stuff.
That's pretty accurate. And I actually had my birth chart done a couple, years ago, like officially, but now there's apps for everything. Your birth chart is based on like when you were born, day, time, and location. And it gives you an astrological chart of where the planets were in addition to your sun sign. So you think Most people think your sign, they think their sun sign, like, oh, where the sun was located. If you think of the constellations and the stars and the moon and everything that's in the sky, where everything was located at the specific day and time you were born is what creates what's called a birth chart.
Yeah, what's funny is at work one day, we pulled up our birth charts. I don't remember everything except for I remember that my moon sign is Libra. And sometimes I realize, oh, no wonder you want to be like in a relationship sometimes because you're low-key a Libra.
And I don't remember every single planet of mine because it's way too much information for me to have to pay attention to all the time. I'm a Cancer sun. My moon is in Sagittarius and my rising is a Scorpio. So I'm water, fire, water, which is kind of interesting because I was looking at Pinterest the other day, which is like my second favorite social media site is Pinterest. My first is most likely Instagram. I was reading this little meme and it was kind of breaking down like how to break down a birth chart in really simple terms. And it was saying your sun sign is essentially the way that you see yourself. Okay. Your moon is the way others see you.
Really?
And your rising is the way you want to be seen. It was kind of dope. I'll text it to you so you can look at it. But
yeah, let me see it because I'm going to have to go maybe and download this app you're talking about too because I'm kind of curious.
You know, I'm one of those people who, like, when I meet somebody new, I'm like, what's your sign? And not even because I think it's cute, but it's like, let me know what I'm dealing with right now.
Immediately. I know who you are. I can have a generalization of what to expect from you.
Precisely. And I always think it's funny when people are like, well, I don't really know my sign because it's not really accurate. And then I find out that there's something and I'm like, oh, yep. You sure are. All of that. So whatever it is you thought you were, it's not that. But that's why I always ask. And for me, it's also just kind of fun little icebreaker kind of thing. So anyway, so thank you for sharing that. I want to ask you about this YouTube channel because, you know, one thing I know, there's a stage for everyone. And I think that's what's really amazing about technology and the internet and social media and all that kind of stuff. When you decided to create your YouTube channel, what was your intention behind it?
Oh, goodness. Now, listen, Keisean, we don't plan on having me cry or any of that, okay?
I mean, it's allowed. Just so you know, this is a safe space.
It is a major possibility that I start crying on you any minute. So
I like crying. It's fine. I might start crying with you,
right?
Yes,
it's kind of cleansing. So let's see. Back in 2015, I lost my husband to cancer. I was 39. He was 44, and I was having a bit of an issue with how or who I was while I was married to him. I wasn't happy with how I treated him or the wife that I was. I don't feel like I gave him everything that he deserved, even while he was sick. I wasn't happy with who I was. So we were married 3 years, 9 months, and 2 days. And of those 3 years, 9 months, and 2 days, he was sick for about 2 of them. Almost 2 years straight, he was sick. So I wasn't the nicest person. So when I was doing self-reflection, which I'm always doing, and seeing how I had grown and learning what I didn't like about myself, I felt that it was necessary, like listening to other people that were married or in relationships. I felt like there was an opportunity for me to share my story and possibly help somebody else understand and see something from a different perspective. And so I decided, well, first, let me share my story on YouTube. And I actually did it on Facebook first. And it was this long, 30 minutes soliloquy, me by myself. And people were calling me and saying, I had been telling my girlfriends anyway, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. I'm going to start a YouTube channel. Oh, I'm going to do it on Facebook. I think I should do like this hour or 30 minutes on Facebook and just talk about stuff. And so I did this one thing on Facebook, like I'm really spiritually based. And I had not necessarily walked away from God, but walked away from God. And so I used that time to really kind of talk to people. And I got a lot of a very positive response. A lot of people were like, oh my God, you're speaking my language. I thought I was the only person that felt like this. And maybe not because, of a spouse, but just because they had lost a loved one or just because they felt disconnected with God and didn't know how to get back to where they were. So then the next thing I know, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start my YouTube channel. And here we are. I'm going to empower people. And it was really about relationships, like really about specifically intimate relationships. And then it evolved into just this whole thing where I started doing a segment called Truthful Thursdays. And I would just be honest about stuff, whatever the topic I felt, whatever I saw during the week. I don't know, let's say your friends who aren't really your friends, or, being a mistress, because I would also pull all my content came from my own life. Like I try not to talk about nothing I have not experienced and do not feel passionately about or sharing with someone to help someone. So I kind of just use that platform. Really, I want to say maybe even to maybe empower people to make informed decisions about choices that they're making, about things that they're doing in their lives and how they're affecting you as a person. Yeah.
Wow. No, I appreciate you for sharing that and for being so transparent, about the journey that got you to where you are now, and I think that as someone who's been on your channel and have watched, a couple different videos from the different, categories and things like that, I can see that the theme that I notice that kind of flows through every single element is authenticity, humor, and transparency.
Oh,
every single one.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. And those elements, I think, are really what is setting women in particular who are deciding to take these stages and take these platforms and really come from a place of empowerment. I think what sets women apart from other people who are doing it, or other women even keeping it real, as they say, or keeping it 100, whatever you want to call it, because whatever you want to call it, being transparent sounds like really fancy, but just keeping it real, I think, is what's really relatable, because there's, people that I look up to, the Oprahs of the world and the Ayanlas and the Michelle Obamas, women who are really, really doing big things in this world. I think that they came through at a different time, when they were developing. The idea of being totally open and totally real and totally transparent wasn't necessarily the way, so to speak. Or depending on the positions that they hold, it's not okay to be vulnerable. It's not okay to cry or to laugh or to talk shit about whatever. It's not okay to do those things. And I think that right now in particular, that women, we've found our voice. It's almost like, we found it, y'all, so you can't take it away again. It ain't gonna happen. You can't take it.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because, my mother watches my channel, and she always says, well, you share everything. I mean, you telling it all. You don't keep anything secret. And I remind her, we're from different eras, different generations. There's a big generational gap. And though, Mom, there are some things you wouldn't share, I don't really have anything that I'm ashamed of myself. Now, I mean, maybe there are some things that I'm ashamed of, but I'm not afraid to put them out on a platform, because somebody else is also fearful or, having self-doubt about those same things. And I might be the one thing that helps them. And in the process, I'm actually helping myself, having some therapy sessions for myself and helping myself heal. So it's funny you say that, because you do. We come from different places. They come from a place where, we need to be heard. I need to share and empower people, but with only certain information. Everything else is taboo, and we shouldn't talk about, our most intimate desires or secrets or fears. We shouldn't handle those, but those are things that women deal with every single day. Some of the women that come on my channel, like I have, I'm a small YouTuber, soon to be a very large YouTuber, soon to be like recognized, and people be like, why are you still on YouTube? And I'm going to have a different platform, right? We're just speaking that right on out.
Speaking that into existence.
Yes.
Yep.
So I have a lot of people who follow me who, when they originally came to see, let's say I do reviews, right? I do TV reviews, and most of them came during my claws or my insecure reviews, which are coming back, and I'm going to do those again. But I draw them in, and then in the process, I give little tidbits of how I feel about a situation or what's happening on the show. So they say, well, what else is she talking about? When they come in, they see what else I'm talking about. Then they realize, oh, wait a minute, I can be me. I can be free. And I've built a lot of relationships. I don't just the interaction on YouTube, people saying to me, well, how do I get in contact with you? And, well, my Instagram, my DMs, my Facebook DMs, my email. And they come with questions and they come and they say, I thank you for being so encouraging. I'm going to call her an associate because we went to elementary school together, but we hadn't connected. And she found me on Facebook and found that I had this YouTube channel and she wanted to support me. And the other day she sent me this message about how she was just so happy that I have this channel and that I'm so, as you say, transparent, because now she's not afraid to be herself. I'm a little curvier than most women. And she's like, I would sit and look at myself and say, oh, well, I can't put that on, or, oh, people are going to look at me funny. And not that I dress provocatively or anything, but I dress for my body type. I dress for how it makes me feel. I like to feel good. So if I look good, I feel good. She said, my self-esteem is coming back. I'm starting to want to, put clothes on and know that my curves are just as beautiful as the lady that might just so happen to be a size 10 and curvy. But, she was very complimentary and I was excited that I was able to help her come out of her shell and realize that you are beautiful in whatever state you are. And so, that really felt good to me, because I'm just really being my authentic self. I'm really on there just being who I am. There are people that know you your whole life and they figure, oh, well, Talisa is this particular way. When in actuality, I have grown so much from that space. I'm no longer the girl with I'm still a little snappy. I'm still a firecracker, but I have evolved and I know how to present that now. I know how to articulate myself in a way that is still very matter of fact, very assertive, but you can hear me. And so when they see me on YouTube, they always think, well, I guess you are changing. But then in that same breath, it's, oh, you're still the same person.
That makes complete sense. No, that makes complete sense, because there's a couple of things that were coming up for me as I was listening. And I'll start, with the story that you shared about someone that you knew as a child, in elementary school, that witnessed what you were doing on YouTube and it inspired her, to become more comfortable and confident in her body and her expression through the clothes that she wears and what that feels like for her. It really does speak to your intention. Yeah. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this because XYZ. And I know some people don't have the calling, is what I want to call it, on their life that says you are meant to inspire, empower, and impact the lives of other people. That is what you are meant for. It's woven into your DNA. I often use the analogy of, an acorn that becomes an oak tree. In the little teeny tiny acorn, it's already written into the DNA, the genetic makeup of that acorn, that it's going to become a huge, windy, curvy, giant presence that becomes an oak tree. And I think sometimes when people know us as children, some people can see that oak tree inside that little tiny acorn. Some people can see it. Others can't. Yes. And so when we start to evolve and we start to expand, they're like, who the fuck is this? Where did all this come from?
Absolutely.
And it's like, oh yeah, this was in me all the time. Y'all didn't know? Yeah, here it is. Yeah. So I look at, when you're standing, in your truth, as they say, and when you're walking in your purpose, when you start to do that, you can't stop, especially when you start to recognize how much of an impact you're having on other people just by being yourself. You know what I mean? And I think that's what makes you, for me, that's the shit that people are like, why you get up in the morning? Why you do this podcast? Why are you recording in the front seat of your car? Because there is something in me that is already part of my design. And this is one of the ways that I'm going to get it out to the world. This is one of the ways that I'm going to inspire and empower and impact other people. And I see that in what you're doing, which is the reason why I asked you to be one of my guests. Is because I see it.
And that makes perfectly good sense, the way that you put that, because it makes me think back to when my husband was sick and I didn't know how to help him. And I would say, well, God, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to do? A lot of people don't know what their purpose is. And all he would say is, your purpose is to uplift, encourage, and support. That would be all. And I'm all like, okay, really? That's
how am I supposed to do that?
This man is lying in the bed sick. What am I supposed to say to him down here when I see him disintegrating after I done fasted and you done told me that you're going to heal him on the other side? How am I supposed to be uplifting, encouraging, and supporting supportive. I figured it out. But then I feel like it translated into my current life. Like, and I kind of think back and I think about who I am as a person and how my friends see me. I realize that they see me as someone that they can call on for, advice, maybe for prayer, for a soulful conversation, somebody that they can talk to who's definitely not going to pass judgment on them or be uber righteous on them. I feel like even my friends that are all like, some of which are uber righteous, still see me as a person that they can come and confide in. And then, sometimes I say nothing. Sometimes I'm very candid and I tell them straight, blunt like it is. And sometimes it's, through loving kindness that I kind of try. And so I realized that that's probably who I've been my entire life. And I just didn't know what it is. I didn't know how to articulate it or how to, and then some catalyst, some horrible thing happened to me in my life that caused me to dig deep and find it and really find it for myself and really be therapy for myself, but help somebody else in the process. And so.
Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that, some people call it the hero's journey, where they say, like, you have a calling on your life and there's a moment, like you said, a catalyst, or what they call like the dark night of the soul, where you get to that moment where you are on your knees, literally, like tears streaming down your face, like what in the hell is going on in my life right now? And do you hate me, God? Is that what's happening? Do you hate me? Is that why this is happening?
That's what it is.
Because that must be the reason why these things are happening. And it is that sensation when you're like, oh, this is why. Okay, I see now that if I hadn't experienced that, dark time in my life, I wouldn't have anything to really speak about. I wouldn't have anything to share. I wouldn't have anything to talk about. And, there's moments when, we've all been there. Well, those who have connected with their purpose, those who have remained receptive as those messages come in that say, actually, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And here I'm going to create this platform for you. And here I'm going to make sure that these people see you. And here I'm going to give you these stories to be able to build from and to relate to. It's like when you look back and you're like, oh, got it. I understand now. I don't know why I was questioning you. I'm sorry, Lord. It's fine.
It's okay. We good. You the homie still,
we good, right? You the homie still. I ain't mad anymore.
I'm not mad because you're right. You look back and you go, I have so many experiences to pull from out of my own life. Sometimes it scares me. That I've been through so much. I always tell my mother, I've been through more in my lifetime than you have. I mean, she's always like, well, I can count my partners on one hand and, I had this job forever. Like, I laugh because I'm all like, because the experiences that I have, good, bad, and indifferent, have formed me, and I have lots of things to encourage people with. Sometimes I'm laying down and I'm all like, oh my God, I forgot about that. Or it drops in my spirit that here's a new topic. Like I want to talk about like the 3 C's, communication, commitment, and compromise, like in relationships. And it just dropped. And I forgot that I had did this whole thing about it. And I'm searching through stuff. And I just look at my life and I say, okay, so this is really what I was meant to do. I've been going through a lot of stuff since I was a little girl, from being inappropriately touched, to losing my husband. You know what I'm saying? So I can relate to a lot of people on a lot of different levels, from being in a bad relationship to, actually I have had domestic violence. Like I've had enough experiences, maybe not to the extreme as some people, but extreme enough where I know I can relate and I can help somebody heal from the inside out by saying that you have a new place. You have some flowers at the end of the thorn. I know roses are beautiful, but it got a little thorn, and that's okay. That's to be careful. Don't touch me inappropriately because I'll hurt you.
Well, that part. Please don't make me slap you or cut you in your face because, I do that too. I meditate, but I will
slice you. It looks all nice and rosy and in a nice package and everything, but let me tell you something. Watch it.
And I just want to acknowledge you and affirm you for that, because I know that our journeys have been very similar, even though we've only interacted with each other and just intersected, I should say, into each other's lives a couple of months ago. The very first time that day at that undisclosed location, at the undisclosed job, where it was just the two of us, and we just opened up that dialogue, immediately I was like, ooh, I need to know you. You know what I mean? Like, we need to connect. It was that immediate sensation. The thing that brought us in there, who knows, the thing that brought us to that place. And those are the moments where I feel that sense of confirmation that's like, okay, I am on the right track. I am moving in the right direction, right? Meaning this is the path that was laid out for me, and I'm choosing to keep walking on it. Because, when I sat down to write a book last year, really decided to tell even a portion of my story. When I first sat down to write it, I was like, oh, I'm going to write this like personal development book, and it's going to be like all this, like meditate and like eat right and like drink a lot of water. And that's all we're going to talk about. Breathing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all these like really wonderful things. And then as I started writing it, I was like, this shit ain't real. Like, meaning like if I only tell the finishing part of the story, then it's not going to be relatable. Right. People are not going to feel connected to it. And so I did start to weave some of my actual experiences into that story. And the way that I kind of closed it out was by telling a little bit of some of the dark nights that I've had, like you said, from going through things as a child, growing up with a father who was an addict, being inappropriately touched, having teen pregnancy, like all that shit.
We do have really connected stories. I'm sitting here listening to you say that, and I'm all like, absolutely, we do. Because I bought the book.
Yes.
It's on my list to read.
Yay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. And but it was one of those moments where I felt that, what they call like that still small voice that's like, Keisean, you just got to speak your truth. Like, if you really want to do what it is that you say you do and to make the impact that you say you want to make, you got to tell your story. You know what I mean? And what I realized was a lot of the reason that I was holding so much back was out of shame and fear of judgment, and what are people going to think, or what are my parents going to say, da, 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 da. And just that feeling of like, well, I need to present as this polished, pageant ready human. And it's like, that's not even a real person.
That's not even a real person. And nobody is going to be able to relate to the pageant queen waving with the perfect smile and the hair in every place. Like, absolutely.
That's not real. No. And so that's where I've discovered that women like you, women like myself, that are taking the power back over our stories and over our lives and over our journeys, and saying, let me stand in my own power so that I can empower others. Because the reality is that we can't give what we don't have.
Right.
It's not possible.
It's not possible.
We can't give from nothing. We can't pour, from an empty cup, as they say. And I think what's really beautiful is that, especially for Black women, is for us to be able to pour into one another, to uplift and encourage one another by creating those safe spaces, to have the conversations, to talk about the taboo shit that we ain't supposed to talk about.
To talk about as Black women. Like, you're ashamed. You're fearful of what people are going to think about you. Though they may be doing the same thing done in secrecy, it's just not as acceptable. You're not able to be your free, genuine self because of other people's ideas of you.
Right. And I think, like you said, with the difference in generation between our mothers, grandmothers, aunties, those women who were, here before us, I think a big difference too is that they came from a time where, you don't go outside unless you're wearing a skirt and pantyhose. And, you present, this is the only way to present as a woman. This is the only acceptable way to show up in the public eye. This is the only acceptable way. And I think obviously times have changed drastically about the way that women are allowed to show up. And I think what's cool about your channel, for instance, is that you're showing different facets of your personality, your hairstyle changes, your wardrobe changes, nail color. Like, you're letting people see, like, am Talisa Rae.
Yes.
And all these different, designs and forms. I'm still me though. But it's inspirational in that way too, because I think that for women to express themselves, it's not just what we say, it's the way that we literally show up, the way that we present, that gives us that sense of power and confidence.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're right. For me, I do change my hair like most people take showers. My hair is, like you said, a part of my personality, how I'm feeling right now. And every time I change my hair, like you said, even my nail color, everything about me changes. The way I walk into a room changes. My outfit changes. Everything about my being changes, but it's still innately me. And I think about at work, they look at me, at my corporate job, my professional job, they look at me and they think, okay, here she comes with, bright red hair, or here she comes and she's shaved all her hair off, or what is she going to do now? And I know that they're looking, and I know that they're passing judgment, but listen, it's who I am. Accept me, and I dare you to say something. I dare you. I dare you.
Right.
I dare you with every fiber of me to say something.
Just try me. Just try me. Yeah.
Because just because my package looks different does not mean I don't carry the same information. You know what I'm saying? Or the same professionalism that I would carry, if I had, I don't know, however they wear their hair straight.
Right.
Whatever. I do feel like you are empowered in the way you present yourself. How you look is how you feel. Right. Because when I don't feel good, I look horrible. Like, I don't put any effort into what I look like or my appearance. And I really think that is possible also a fault of mine, because I wear everything. I'm so authentic and so transparent that I wear everything on my sleeves, on my shoulder. And I remind myself, though, that God is, the lion and the lamb. And fortunately, I have both of them. I am the lion and I am the lamb. I do know how to be assertive and I do know how to be soft. And I show all of that on purpose. Like,
right. And that's what I think it's out in front. And I think that's what's really impactful about witnessing you, even just through your social media, for those who have never actually met you in person, or, you don't hang out with on a regular basis, to be able to see these are different facets of the same woman. These are different ways that she can present, that she can show up, that she can express herself. And I think that in and of itself is enough for some woman out there is probably watching your channel, or she gonna watch it after she hears this conversation. Yeah. And she's gonna be inspired. She might go get her nails done for the first time in 5 years. Who knows? You know what I mean? It's those women, and men too, but specifically the women who get to witness another woman showing up as her whole and complete self, flawed and imperfect, but under the spotlight of God all at the same time. It's like, I just did that, and I'm kind of proud of myself, and I'm gonna pop my collar just a little bit because I can.
Absolutely.
And that's inspiring in itself, and I think that's what makes it so important for women to lead by example, because the reality is that there are some women who have been broken and they have yet to rebuild themselves, and they don't know where to begin. Yeah. Exactly. They don't know where to begin. And sometimes just witnessing another woman who is open and honest enough to share her story, to talk about her journey, the pitfalls and the peaks and everything in between, and to be able to say, I came through this, and I'm letting you know that it is possible.
It is possible. It is possible. And and it's big too for people to know, okay, so when you're self-evaluating, you see all the mistakes that you've made. Well, yeah, we're going to make mistakes. And it's a good way to show you, well, yeah, I wasn't always financially sound with my money. I wasn't always, a good steward over a whole lot of stuff. But here we are today in a different space. And it may be a little later than some, but it's right on time for you or for me,
Right.
It makes me think about when you were just talking a minute ago. I have a 22-year-old and he sends me a message today. I love his life. I can't wait to see what God does for him. He sends me a message and he says, Mom, I love you. I want you to know that you inspire me. Stay consistent. I see your channel growing. And I'm so glad that you're my mom. And I just was like, okay, son, Like, he was like, yeah, low-key, I'm watching you, Ma, and I see your growth, and I'm proud of you. Like, and and that's normally what we say to our children. But for my son to look at me, says to me, well, because he's been in the trenches, he's been in the trenches with me because he's the oldest. But for him to be able to look and say, I see you, Mom. I see what you're doing. I see how you're impacting and motivating people. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Though my audience is mainly women, I found that a lot of men actually watch my channel. They come in my inbox and they say to me, hey, can you talk about this? Or what do you think about this? Or what you said about women here really helped me. I now understand why my fiance acts the way that she does, or I can see it from a different set of eyes. So not only am I empowering women to be themselves, but I'm actually giving men insight on who we are so that they know what the hell to do when they get with us. Like, because they have no damn clue.
Right. Girl. Right.
No
You're like,
clue.
I'm actually going to design a class, an online course.
Ooh, that might not be a bad idea.
Add that to your list.
Yes,
make
that's
that happen,
not a bad idea.
Might enroll how to understand even a little bit.
Even a little bit. If you could walk away with one nugget.
With one nugget, you will change the life of some woman forever.
Forever. Like, come on. Oh, God.
As a mother, there are those moments where we question ourselves, like, am I doing enough? Did I do enough? Did I teach enough? Did I, we ask those questions of like, should I have done more? Maybe I could have done, that kind of thing.
Differently. I'm a great mom. I'm not, you start doubting yourself as a mom, et cetera.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All that stuff. So when they, speak from their heart and affirm and acknowledge you, I mean, there's no other like appreciation like that.
No.
You know what I mean? Because I've been sitting on this concept of doing a podcast for a minute, decided that I was going to use the Oprah model is what I call it, which is to be heard, to be seen, and to be read. To be heard through the podcast, to be seen through some type of media, television, Facebook channel platform, and to be read through the books. And so I'm like, okay, book, got it, boom. Oh, podcast, damn, well, I don't have a studio, I don't have a microphone, like all these different reasons that were coming up. What Seth said to me is like, you got to practice what you preach, Mom. You tell me, don't make excuses and just go for it. So to get that feedback back from your kids, like that boomerang kind of effect where they're like, you gave this to me, I'm gonna give it right on back to you. That positive, encouragement is really powerful. It's really, really powerful. So I know that you and I can talk 4 days.
Yes. So because I looked down and I was like, oh, we've already been on here.
I know. So is that if you are open to it, I would love to have you come back on and be a guest again to talk about something else.
Yeah.
Amazing.
To
talk about
whatever it is you want to talk about. I'm sure I can figure out how to talk about it with you.
I'm sure you can. So before we wrap up, I have one last question for you.
Okay.
If you could sit down across from your 20-year-old self, what is one thing that you would share?
I've got a whole video I'm doing on that, honey.
Yes. Just give us one. Just give us one.
Yeah. The one thing that I would say to my 20-year-old self is don't be afraid to let your light shine. My God. Ooh. Don't be afraid to let your light shine. I believe when I was in my 20s that I dimmed my light for a whole lot of people. Trying to fit in, trying to be what somebody else would want me to be or what they thought that I would be instead of being my true self and who God would have me to be. And I think I've known all the time and I just kind of fall back in the background, because you don't think you're good enough or whatever. But I would say 20-year-old Talisa Rae, do not dim your light. Let it shine. Hence, ray of sunshine. Like, yeah.
Yes. Oh,
yeah.
I love that. Y'all gonna love that. You better get your Kleenex out. I know I got mine. I got some dust in my eyes.
It was coming. I said, wait, what's happening over here? I think there's a dust storm in the house.
There must be a dust storm blowing through this closed vehicle that I'm in right now. Thank you for that. Well, before we go, I want you to let people know how they can find you, how they can follow you, where you're located on social media and all that stuff.
Well, you will definitely want to find me. I mean, quick, fast, and in a hurry. You can find me on YouTube at Talisa Rae. My name is spelled T as in Tom, A, Lisa Rae, R-A-E. That is just it, Talisa Rae on YouTube. And then on all other social media platforms, Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter, I am Talisa Rae. That's at I am Talisa Rae on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. And then maybe you might follow me on Facebook. Everywhere, just put in Talisa Rae. I'm sure you'll find me. How about that?
Yes, absolutely. And if you can find me, I'll make sure you find her. Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for letting me join your podcast. It was easy like a conversation.
And we'll be in touch soon.
Yes, yay.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, peace. Wow. Thank you so much, Talisa, for being a part of my podcast. We could have gone on for hours talking about everything, pouring into each other, affirming each other, aligning with each other. So I look forward to having her back as a guest. Oh my goodness. I hope that anyone who listens to this received something, was able to connect with something, was able to resonate with something that we spoke about today. There is power in women coming together, whether it's over the phone, if it's in person, if it's through a YouTube channel, even through a podcast. There is power when women come together. And I really encourage all of my women listeners out there, and men listeners too, because men need to pour into each other and empower each other as well. Speaking as a woman, I know sometimes it is not easy to be able to walk into spaces and be vulnerable and tell your truth and tell your story and be affirmed and be supported. So I encourage you, women out there, if you have not already done so, find a space, find a place where you can go and you can be your whole and complete self, where you can be surrounded by like-minded women who are truly able to stand with you and support you. Because I think we have all had those moments, especially Black women, where we find ourselves around other Black women that for some reason the crabs in a pot scenario shows up and we yank each other down and we nip at each other's heels and we hate on each other. And I, for the life of me, cannot get behind that, cannot support it, cannot agree with it, and will not continue to even participate in spaces with people who operate like that. I've had a lot of people over the years come into my life seeing the light that I have, wanting me to shine it onto them, and then attempting to steal it or attempting to cause me to feel the need to dim my own light. And that is something I will no longer do. So thank you, Talisa, for speaking that. Thank you for sharing that. Again, you can find Talisa Rae on every social media platform, from Twitter to Facebook and everything in between. You can also connect with her through my social media platforms. Thank you again for being a guest. Thank you guys for listening. Peace. You have your choice of podcasts that you can listen to, tune into, subscribe to, and share. And I want to take a moment to just express my sincere gratitude for you choosing this one. In this moment right here and now, I see the light, I see the love, I see the wisdom, I see the beauty, the prosperity, and the abundant joy shining within you. And I bow humbly before your divinity. Namaste. Peace, y'all.
The podcast you just heard was published with Anchor. Got something you want to say to the creator of this show? Send them a voice message using the Anchor app, free for iOS and Android.